It's something, as I said before, my Yaminu Hashem, it's beyond all comprehension, beyond, there's no way to explain what that is. But we have to know, as mefolkt auf and her. There's a Yid that before the Rebbe became Rebbe, he used to have many meetings with the Rebbe. In 1970, he comes into the office and he tells me, I have a very serious business problem, and knowing the Rebbe, I need the Rebbe's advice. Please write down my problem, go into the Rebbe and ask the Rebbe for advice. I came into the Rebbe's room. The Rebbe was holding a letter and reading, and I told the Rebbe that so-and-so was just in the office, and he needs advice from the Rebbe about a business problem. The Rebbe takes the letter that he has in his hand, and he throws on the table, and he turns around to me with a very serious look. Du bist sicher, als wird folgen? Are you sure that he's going to listen to me? I said, I don't know. You know yourself, he tells me, that he used to sit by me many, many hours. In all the hours that he sat, he never consulted with me about his business. And then he tells me as follows. I will not answer him unless I'm sure that he is going to listen to what I'm telling him. Because if I'm going to answer him, these are the words what the Rebbe said in Yiddish. If I'm going to answer him and he's not going to listen, it'll be a must-watch for him. And you'll have to find out if he's going to listen. I go out and I call the Sid. I said, you know, by Chassidim, everything goes with a Chassidish Maisa. I want to tell you a Maisa. I said in 1930, the Rebbe Rayaz, the previous Rebbe, was in the United States, and one of the cities that he visited was Chicago. When he was there for 10, 12 days, about 30, 40 Yidden became the Bava Chassidim. When the Rebbe came in 1940 to the United States, to New York, they would come to the Rebbe for Yom Tov Hanahim. In 1946, Toshin Vov, the Rebbe Rayaz established a Lubavitch Yeshiva in Chicago, and he sent 5 young Bochrim, 15, 16 years old, from Crown Heights to start the yeshiva, and I was zeicher to be one of those 5 Talmidim. When we came to the yeshiva, Rabbi Weinberg was the mashpia, Rabbi Hershberg was the Rosh Yeshiva. 2 weeks after we were there, Rabbi Weinberg gets a phone call from Rabbi Chodakov that the Rebbe wants that twice a week the Bochrim should learn Tanakh, an hour and a half each time. Monday from 3:30 to 5, and Thursday from 3:30 to 5. So this Yid that they approached him that he should be the teacher, he was Boki in Tanakh up and back more than we are Boki in Ashri. He knew all the Mefarshim on Tanakh. It was Bayim Tanakh, oh, but Tanakh with him the whole. Oh, he was so happy. Rabbi Weinberg says, don't worry. You're going to, no, Chas v'sholem. The Rebbe wants the Bochum to learn Tanakh. I'm going to take money for that. Are you nuts? No money. I don't want to hear about it even. Came the first Monday. He opened up a Tanakh to Hosea. When he said those first 2 psukim Hosea, the walls were shaking. Mamish metazam mechayish metazam. 2 psukim took an hour and a half to explain. He came Thursday. After a half hour, we say, excuse us, you were by the Rebbe, that was his been the Rebbe for you, in 1930. Tell us some things that took place then. He started telling us ahead and ahead. When it came the next Monday, we sit down in the class, and the Yid says, listen, I have a story to tell you, but I'll tell it to you only on one condition. You're going to promise me that you're going to remember this story all your life. No, young kids, we said, we'll try our best, but please. He says in 1930, there was a young man of about 30 years old that wanted to make Aliyah, wanted to go move and live in Eretz Yisrael. At that time, Eretz Yisrael belonged to the Turkish government. Eretz Yisrael had nothing to protect the Yid. To travel to Eretz Yisrael was a whole traumatic move. So the father tells the son, being that we have the schus, that this great tzaddik is with us, we always have to consult. Go in and ask the Rebbe whether you should make this move. And the son tells his father, nothing doing. I'm not going to ask because I'm sure that the Rebbe will not allow it to go, and I'm going. And the father tells this Malamed, I did not feel safe that if the Rebbe is here and my son is going to make this move, and my son told me, you don't ask either. I went into the Rebbe and I told the Rebbe the question, and you know what the Rebbe says? Tell your son, now he should not leave. Which means the Rebbe did not negate the whole concept of going to Eretz Yisrael. The Rebbe said, now is not the time to go. I saw my son, I told him, listen, I had to ask the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, don't go now. He started screaming at me. I told him not to ask, I'm going. Came the day, 275 people went onto the ship, and 3-4 days later, boom. After he got off from Shiva, he came to the Rebbe, and he says, Rebbe, I have a very, very serious question. I understand why you said to tell my son not to go now, because he saw this tragedy. You could have saved 275 people. Why didn't you make an announcement nobody should go on this boat? You could have saved so many people. And then the Malamed stops, and he says, I'm going to repeat to you, word by word, what this Yid told me, what he heard from the Rebbe. And I'm going to first say it in Yiddish, word by word, what the Frierdiker Rebbe told this Yid. Gleibt mir, nicht allemal, wenn wir sagen etwas, wissen wir allein, für was wir sagen das. Es ist mehr nicht, was mir geht ins Meile zu sagen. Gleibt mir, ich habe nicht gesagt, keine Tragödie. Ich habe nur übergegeben, was mir geheißen. Aber das wissen wir. Und nachdem, wie sie kommt heraus von unserem Welt auf dem Folgen, weil Leben nicht, wachulu. The Rebbe says, believe me, not always, when we ourselves say something, do we know why we are saying it. It's merely that we are relating this, what we are being told from above. Believe me, when I said he should not go now, I did not see any tragedy. The reason I said it, because I was told from above, tell this gentleman now to go now. But this much we know, that once it comes out of our mouth, you have to follow, you have to listen, because if not, etc. So I told this master to this Chavrman, he says, I understand what you're telling me. I could assure you, whatever the Rebbe is going to answer me, I will follow exactly what the Rebbe says. That's right. I go back into the Rebbe, and into the Rebbe's room, and I tell the Rebbe that he's ready to listen. How did you get it? Why did you take me? Now it's better. How did you get it out of him? So I told the Rebbe, I told him a Maisa from the Frierdiker Rebbe. What story, which story did you tell about my father-in-law? So I told the Rebbe the Maisa. And the Rebbe gives me a big smile. He says, in the meantime, I have a dividend. I heard a story about my father-in-law I never heard before. No, if he's ready to listen, what is the question? I told the Rebbe the question. The Rebbe answers me what to do, what the answer is. I go out, I call him, I tell him, no reaction. I say, Yankele, the Herz was meret? Yeah, I hear. Thank you very much. That's all. About a half a year later, about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings in the office. I pick up the receiver. Leyvel, Agresin Yashekayach, thank you very much. I said, what did I do for you? You have to thank me. Do you remember a while ago, I asked you to ask the Rebbe, he didn't know that the Rebbe didn't want to answer, I didn't tell him. Do you know that I asked you to ask the Rebbe a question in business you didn't want to ask until you found out if I'm going to listen? For that, I'm thanking you. I said, explain yourself. He said, when you gave me the answer from the Rebbe, this goes back to 1970, 71, his business was worth $5 million. For people in the business, $5 million in 1971 was a quite a good sum. I thought to myself, if I'm going to follow what the Rebbe told me to do, that business will go down the drain, I'll be left with nothing. But I'm a man of my word, and I promise you, I did exactly what the Rebbe told me. After a half a year that I listened to the Rebbe, not only did I not lose my business is now worth $10 million. What did the Rebbe say? He didn't know that the Rebbe said that. If I'm going to answer him, and he's not going to follow, it'll be much worse for him. Those are the words that he told me. Had I not followed the Rebbe, I would have lost the business. What do we see over here? What are the Rebbeim trying to advise and encourage us? Without folk, you have to listen. You don't have to understand. It could seem to you it's just the opposite, just contrary what you think is going to be. The Rebbe knows that also.